All right, sorry about that, everyone. A little technical difficulties there. Nothing that quarantine hasn't taught us to overcome yet, but we're back. Different stream now. Sorry about that, everyone. Back with me again. We have Nathan, Lauren, and Nick. We're talking about Dak Prescott and if he's worth the money he's demanding. Sorry to, I think I cut off Lauren or Nathan. One of you guys, whoever it was, just jump back in.
No, that's all right. I was just saying. I think right before we cut off air, I said I think I would give Dak like 18 million for 6 or 7 years. I think if I had the choice, I would give him something like 3 to 4 years. But I think he wouldn't settle for, especially with that low of an average annual value. I think he would only settle for something in the 5, 6, 7 range. And I think it's worth taking a shot on him because I think there's a lot of untapped potential, and I think he could be a stud one day. But I'm not comfortable going any higher than 20 million tops for what he's proven that he can do in the NFL, which is not much so far.
With that, I'm not saying Dak's a bad quarterback. He definitely is a top 16 quarterback in the NFL at least, but I think he overvalues himself way too much. I think honestly, if you ask him right now, he would say he deserves Pat Mahomes type money when no one deserves that kind of money. And I think he just sort of has this inflated sense of what he's worth, what he does, and his contributions to the Cowboys offense when, once again, they play in a very weak division. I mean, what defense in the NFC East scares you? None of them. The Eagles have a great offense, but their defense is shaky at best. The Giants and the Redskins, they don't even put defense on the field, it seems like, half the time. So he really has basically been padding his stats against mediocre to poor competition, and is using this to sort of prove or show what he's done. But when push comes to shove in the playoffs, he hasn't looked great the few times he's made it. When he's played top teams, he's really struggled. And so with Dak, I think he needs to take a step back and just understand that the way it is in Dallas and the way he probably will be for his career, he'll be a solid game manager. He can make all the little short throws, but the second you ask him to get out of his comfort zone, to do more than you're asking him, that's when the wheels fall off the track. And I think Dak really hasn't proven to anyone at all in the league, especially not to the Cowboys, that he is the guy to carry Dallas to the promised land and to really be the guy that to put the team on his back and just carry them to victory. I think everyone knows right now for the Cowboys that's Zeke Elliott, the offensive line, and a young up and coming defense.
I think that's really well said. I like what you said about the no one deserves Patrick Mahomes. I don't even know that he necessarily deserves that. I'm always cautious of big contracts too, and I know you do that to make sure they don't leave. But like as a Tigers fan, man, I know what a big contract does to you, man. I mean, we're still paying. Are we still paying Prince Fielder? I know we were like last year.
I know
think
you're still paying Miguel Cabrera.
I know we're still paying Miguel Cabrera.
You also gave him that money when he was, pretty old. And Mahomes is
yeah.
what, 20?
Mahomes is younger. It makes more sense. But, like,
Yeah.
God forbid what happens if Mahomes just duds out. I doubt that'll happen, but there's always that chance of it, right? I don't think it will either. But, like, I don't – you don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. 10 years ago, we didn't know we were going to have a pandemic that's going to cancel the college football season. Like – you don't know what's gonna happen, and that's what I'm cautious about. I wanna move on. We're gonna get back to some USC stuff, more in the wheelhouse of this fan base right here. I'm coming with a hot take. I have the hottest ones. The fans hate me for my hot takes, saying that Clay Helton was going to stay 2 years in a row. I will hang that over the fan base. I will hang that over USC Scoop's head, because
I said that too, I might add.
Did you?
I did.
Did you do it twice?
I mean, dude, it was
do it twice.
So
do it twice, and let's come talk.
I mean, Mike Bohn. It was obvious when Mike Bohn dug himself into a hole by saying that good teams finish strong. I think that pretty much locked it up for Clay.
Yeah.
Well, I
really strong against Iowa.
Yeah, they did. I have some good news. I have some good news of a hot take for once. I'm saying USC at least 3 first-round picks in the 2021 NFL Draft. I'm gonna leave it up for this. I'm gonna go Elijah Vera Tucker, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then a toss-up between whoever has a better season, Talanoa Hufanga, love that guy, great safety, gonna be great, and J2 Fele. So that's what I'm saying. Please roast me.
I mean,
all right, I'll go. All right, actually, Nate, you go.
No, take it away.
All right, well, I'm just going to say I think USC is going to have 2. I think, obviously, Elijah Vera Tucker, he's definitely going to be a first-round draft pick. And then also Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Amon-Ra's in the perfect situation this season Right now, I have him he's probably early day 2 pick. I think this is the perfect situation now for him to play himself into a first-round draft pick. He'll probably be the focal point of the offense. Everything's going to come through him, and he does all the little things right. But I think Jay Tufele and Talanoa Hufanga, they are going to be pushed to the end of the first round, more likely early second round, middle of the second round. I just don't see them pushing into the top draft picks of the draft class. I think first round pick, it's going to be Amon-Ra and Elijah Vera-Tucker only this year.
Yeah, I think we can kind of all agree here that Elijah Vera-Tucker is going to be a lock for a first round pick, like barring anything else. I mean, you look at Austin Jackson, then you look at a guy like Elijah Vera-Tucker. I mean, very similar kind of guys, and I think a lot of people are going to be hot on that. I think Elijah Vera-Tucker is definitely the lock. I think Amon-Ra needs to have a good season, and a no season might actually hurt them. And that's one other thing that kind of plays into this is what happens if there's no season, because you look at guys, especially like Talanoa, who's probably going to be a second rounder if he has a good season. Doubt he really moves up into the first round. I just really like his play style. I think he's a great safety. I think he could be really good in the NFL. But that extra season's huge for a lot of USC guys right now, especially if they're playing, competition like this, because I don't know why, but apparently draft analysts love to overhype guys that are just like playing terrible talent. I'll bring up Jordan Love. I'm still not sold on the guy, but everyone's hyped about him, even though the only time they played a reputable team, they got absolutely destroyed. They lost to Kent State. I don't get it, but everyone loves Jordan Love. So seemingly, if USC plays a bunch of garbage teams like half of the Pac-12 and Talanoa Hufanga does whatever he does against those teams, yeah, maybe they'll put him as a first overall pick. I don't know. I'm still mad about the Jordan Love thing, if you can't tell, but that's just me. Nathan, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I do think that it would help. I think Amon-Ra is a first round talent for sure. I think part of me is a little bit concerned that he's going to be, now not even playing Alabama, Notre Dame. He's going to be playing mediocre to subpar defenses in the Pac-12, and he's probably going to go off because I think that's, he looks pretty primed to do that, especially with Michael Pittman out of the picture now. But I think it certainly wouldn't have hurt his case to go out and put up a, 112-yard performance against Notre Dame like he did last year. I think that would have, just putting up performances like that against top teams in the country, whether that's Notre Dame or Alabama, or, I guess you could do that against Oregon. But, yeah, I just think that, tying it back into our first, part of the show, I think not playing those out-of-conference games is definitely going to hurt the draft stocks of some guys who really could have benefited from tearing up some quality opposition like that.
USC, I'm just say this quickly before you, Lauren, is that with USC, they have a lot of their players that could be first-round draft picks, aside from Elijah Vera-Tucker, the other three guys that we've mentioned. They all have the potential to be first-round draft picks, but they need to play their way into it. And they're all set up to play their way into that position, but they need the season to happen in order to do that, because I say if the draft happened right now, only Elijah Vera-Tucker would go in the first round, and then day 2, Jay Tufele and Amon-Ra would be going off the board. But they need this season to happen so they can show what they have and really take advantage of the situation they're in right now in terms of the roster and the schedule, where they can show their talents and play their way into the first round.
Yeah, I want to clarify something before, Lauren, you get in. My hot take is completely dependent on there being a season. Absolutely not will there be 3 first-round picks. If there's not a season, I imagine a lot of these guys will actually come back for another season because they need that for their draft stock. Lauren, go in.
Love that you mentioned that. I was going to say, no doubt that draft stock would go down without that season. But I agree that Amon-Ra and Elijah will probably, no doubt, be first-round picks. And Talanoa, I think there could be early second round. I'm just going to go out on a limb for one of my favorite receivers on and off the field. I already said this, and I know you guys are like, what are you talking about? But I love Tyler Vaughns. I think he's a great player and a great person. And I'm going to say he could go early second round. I know that's not technically a part of the first round hot take, but I just had to throw that out there. But I think it's going to be a very exciting draft if the season does happen for a lot of NFL players or future NFL players for USC football players. So.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's just great that we're having a discussion that more than one USC player is going to be going in the first round. I mean, when's the last time that's happened? So this is a great time. Yeah.
When is the last time that happened? Obviously, you have Sam. No one.
I don't even.
What was Rojo? Rojo was like third round, right?
Yeah, he was like second or third round.
When was the last?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute. Yeah, definitely been a minute. But I think again, if you have a season this year, it looks really great for USC. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, this 2018 season, I was talking with some media members in the press box at, what was it? It was a very sad game, one of the very sad games of USC, and they're like, 2020 is the year. Or, I'm sorry, 2020. Yeah, 2020 is the year for USC. This is when they'll have everything figured out. We'll have everything, and by God, I mean, we thought JT Daniels was going to be leading it in its junior year, right? Who knows that? Who would have thought that this happened? Who would have thought that some of these players come up like this, big? I mean, look at the receiving corps. We knew that was going to happen just because of the recruiting. And then you bring in Gary Bryant, too. That can be an X factor. You have Drake London. That's another X factor. Step coming back. It's a really good season for USC, and it really sucks that they're not going to have it. But I think if there is a season, even in limited capacity, these guys have a lot to do for their draft stock. This is a team that can fire on all cylinders. There's really not a whole lot of weakness on this team. For the first time in a while, because you look at even last year where there wasn't a whole lot of weakness, but that defense kind of, wasn't the greatest. The offensive line still wasn't that fantastic. It could have been better. But now you're looking at this. You bring in a bunch of huge recruits, literally huge, like 300 pounds huge, and that's great for next year. Even this year, if you can get some of those guys in there if you need it. But there's really no gaps here, and I think this team can really fire on all cylinders and bring a couple or a few rather. Guys in the first round of the NFL draft.
I also think if this season gets canceled and a lot of guys that would have entered the draft this year stay for one more year, and dude, the Pac-12 is a lock, I think, honestly, for 2021. That team would be disgusting.
Oh, I mean, you look at them this year, man. It's already looking disgusting, man. Like, yeah. Like I've said, I really don't see anyone besides Oregon and ASU there. I'm not going to go into my entire rant about how Utah was not a good team last year, despite what everyone kept saying about their defense. They were not. I don't think there's no one in the South. I really don't think they could lose to Arizona State. Granted, it is a. I'm sorry. They're playing. No, it's at USC this year.
It's home.
Oh, it's home. No, they got it. They got it locked. Never mind. Tempe's a tough place to play. And remember, they almost lost that game last year. If it weren't for
they scored all their points in the fourth.
For a Christian Rector interception. Oh my God! You never thought you were gonna have to rely on him to save a game, man. Oh lordy. But I don't know.
I will say, I do wonder what home field advantage is gonna mean this year.
I think home. Yeah. I didn't even think. I just kind of casually threw that out. Actually, no, zero capacity. If there's a season, there is not.
Probably on the upper end, yeah.
Absolutely not. They're gonna have all their players spaced out in the stadium, something like that. Yeah, home field advantage is gonna be kind of fun. Are they gonna pump crowd noise? I feel like they need to.
Yeah,
they should.
They need it. They'll definitely. Oh my God, man, it's gonna be a wild time. But I'm gonna save it there. 3 first-round picks. We're gonna wrap up the show for today. We're running out of time. Sorry for the technical delay, but thank you all for taking the time for being here, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sports Team. We're doing this every Wednesday, 1 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. We're going through until there's a football season. I hope there's going to be one. We're coming back in the fall. Excited for that. Hopefully we'll be able to be in our studio again. Lauren, Nick, Nathan, thanks for taking the time, sticking with my hot take this week. We'll be back next week. As always, follow us on social media at @AndMediaSports or on the web at uscannabismedia.com/sports. We're still doing production, man. Coronavirus doesn't stop us, so we'll see you back next week.